over 120 players, I think. So we are going to move into Cthulhu Druid versus the mid-range Tempo Warrior for Turna.
And you see AKAWonder kind of take his face in his hands here. It's got to be a stressful situation.
Yes.
As you're saying, you know, he may be just one game away, but it's a big game. And he has to, you know, just figure out, okay, what's the best plan going into this one?
Yeah. I've been playing in like open tournaments recently and trying to improve my skill in tournaments. And going into an important match with just one game left is that moment where you go into the mulligan screen and you go through every single possibility in your mind of what can happen in that early game. And that's exactly what AKAWonder is in. He needs to just focus. And Turna, on the other hand, he's just got to make sure that he's not letting the fact that he's down in the series get to him, and just take it one game at a time. Not worry about the end goal, just worry about winning this game and then worrying about winning the next game. So just some different mindsets for both these players.
Yeah, the mental state and the pressure that these players are under really can't be discounted. You know, they've been playing all weekend. You know, they had to fight through so many matches already to get here, and it could be down to just these few games remaining. In fact, perhaps only this one game remaining as to whether that whole weekend pays off.
Yeah, and it's also about establishing yourself. AKAWonder, has proven that he's a really strong player by, winning the Legendary Series at IM Katowice. But Turna, there's not many people that know who he is. So just building a name for yourself beyond just the one match that you had featured in the Europe Spring Preliminaries, it also has to be playing into the back of their heads. And
even for AKAWonder, he was able to come out on top at IM Katowice.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference in terms of the prominence of that compared to something like the Europe Spring Championship.
Yeah, or making it to BlizzCon.
Right, yeah. I mean, everyone remembers the champions from each of the seasons so far. We have Diane, Naiman, and Nijak. Everyone knows those names now. Whereas not everyone necessarily knows who won any given tournament throughout the year.
Yeah.
So these are big stakes for both these players. And here, AKAWonder debating whether he wants to actually attack his opponent after using his hero power. This is in consideration of Battle Rage.
Yeah. Also, consideration of attacking into the Armor Smith, because both of those sort of activate Battle Rage, but eventually he knows he will have to deal with Armor Smith. So these are, even though it's turn 2, and you're like, he's roping on turn 2, there is a lot that goes into this, and he does decide to attack the Armor Smith. I like this a lot more than I would have liked, attack face. Especially since it also puts armor on Turna, which means he's further away from being able to Battle Rage for extra value.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of considerations like this by players throughout the weekend, making some plays that look really unintuitive to the average observer, but are very important in the overall texture of the matchup. All right, so AKAWonder, he kept that Cthulhu's Chosen, or rather that Disciple of Cthulhu, in his hand. He is the Disciple of Cthulhu with all 3 Cthulhu decks here. Go ahead and fires off at the Armor Smith. So now the Disciple threatens to trade with Armor Smith, but Turna does already have the weapon in place to take care of it.
Yeah, I think this is more just to set up for a swipe, because the 2 strongest minions that mid-range Temple Warrior plays on turn 3 are Fierce Monkey and Frothing Berserker. So it lines up incredibly well with swipe.
So yeah, if Turna were to just attack into the Disciple, play one of those 2 minions, AKAWonder does have the perfect answer.
Yeah, and also he needs to get these Cthulhu buff cards out of his hand, because he does have that Calaxy Amber Weaver, which needs Cthulhu to be buffed in order to get that extra health, which ends up being a big deal a lot of the times. Or, getting out an Execute the turn before you want to play a Dark Irakoa could also be a big deal, because that's a huge minion too.
All right, we'll go ahead and swipe off the Berserker before it can get out of hand. And now AKAWonder with a pretty solid curve after this point. And Turna does have a Monkey to play this turn, but most of his hand is pretty reactive.
Yeah. One of the hardest parts about this matchup from Turna's perspective is making sure that you know what threats are available in AKAWonder's deck, because you have to sort of be a little bit greedier with removal than you are in other matchups with the mid-range warrior, but you can't be too greedy, because then eventually you won't have that tempo, you won't have that pressure that you need to push through to the end of the game. So it's still a tough matchup, and he hasn't had the best of starts, getting his board clear.
Here AKAWonder, this is actually a pretty big decision, whether he plays a bear or a cat. If he plays this in cat form, he can kill the, and this is what he's going to do. Yeah. And I was going to say this is what I was hoping he would do.
Yeah.
Takes out the monkey right away, because if he did play a bear form druid, his opponent could just damage it and then execute it and then be ahead on the board with the monkey. This is such, as the name might suggest, a tempo-based matchup here, where the druid is trying to ensure that the warrior never has a threat that sticks in play throughout each turn, because that's really how they just get ahead and keep piling damage in.
I really like how you just simplify that decision so much. He really needs to decide here whether or not to play a bear or a cat.
Well, it's true. That's the decision.
It's true. That is true.
And cat is for fight, so he wanted to fight. He played the cat and fought.
What is bear for?
Bear is for tank.
Bear is for tank.
Yeah. Bear. Okay. This is Alamo's guide to druid, okay? You clearly don't know much about WoW.
No, I don't. Well, I thought I did, but after being on a desk with you for more than 5 minutes, I realized that I, in fact, do not. But this does set up a clean turn for Turna. He can play the Acolyte of Pain and Whirlwind to take this off, but he wouldn't be in nearly as good of a position if, like you mentioned, he was able to play the Acolyte, Whirlwind, execute, and then keep pushing forward.
Exactly. So he does pick up a second execute, so that's a very big draw for Turna there, potentially allowing him to just keep pushing through. If AKAWonder plays Arakoa here, it's a very easy clear for Turna with one of those executes.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's actually just going to go ahead and respect the execute. Rather than play one big minion, he wants to remove the Acolyte, which would potentially threaten to draw extra cards with Whirlwind or Ravaging Ghoul, as well as Battle Rage.
Yeah.
And then just develop 2 minions himself, which puts him in a much better situation against the threat of execute.
Mm-hmm. And now that Cthulhu is up to 12-12, which means the Klaxi Amber Weaver will be able to get that extra health. So now he's got sort of 2 targets instead of just playing the Dark Arakoa and getting it executed. He now has another target to sort of maybe bait out an execute or just have to pressure.
Yeah, and he has a pretty nice curve over the next few turns. AKAWonder, he has, because of this play now, he could potentially play that Arakoa next turn after Turna potentially spends his turn reacting right now. And then if his Arakoa dies, he has 2 4-drops to play on the turn when he hits 8 mana.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really AKAWonder setting the game up such that he wants to keep Turna responding to him, and if he forces Turna to respond to him and doesn't allow Turna to actually generate a significant board presence himself and actually pressure AKAWonder, once he gets to the point where he plays Cthulhu, especially if those executes are exhausted, it's really just smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, that's...
Speaking of big threats, Twin Emperor Veclor coming with his buddy this time, Vecnalash. And yeah, this is really starting to get away from Turna here. He hasn't been able to stabilize any sort of meaningful board presence, and he can't get through this except for throwing his body in, even with that weapon from his... He may just actually end up battle raging here just to dig. I think that's what's going to happen.
I kind of wish that I enjoyed saying any word as much as you enjoy saying Vecnalash.
Vecnalash is a great word. It's a great name.
It's a great name.
It's incredibly difficult to pronounce if you don't know it, but...
I learned how to pronounce it being here with you, Kibler, so thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.
But yeah, this is... you could tell that Turna was in a little bit of an awkward spot, having to override his Fiery War Axe with his Arathi Weaponsmith just to try and get something on the board, and he is picking up more threats, but I really like the point that you made about AKAWonder making sure that he's the one that has initiative, not allowing Turna any room to clear plus develop. He has to worry about doing one or the other each turn.
Yeah, and this will be one of the 2 crucial executes in the Tempo Warrior deck. And this is really one of the things that sets that deck apart from the more controlling decks, because Turna only has 2 executes. That's his only real removal. And now, this is a really threatening Fandral, because it can represent the possibility of duplicating any of the choose effects, as well as a 4/10.
Bearcat is for tank fight.
It's true. Bearcat is, in fact, for tank fight. You don't even have to choose.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, and if eventually both executes are used, that gives so much room for AKAWonder just to play a Cthulhu, which is the biggest minion of them all, in order to just keep snowballing his own board, and Turna just doesn't feel like he's gaining enough of of a position to do this.
He could innervate out Cthulhu this turn if he wanted to. I think we may... There's still an execute left.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to see AKAWonder into Twilight Elder, which grows Cthulhu as well. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. We play AKAWonder, builds up Cthulhu. We play Elder, builds up Cthulhu more. And now, this is a spot for Turna where this is a really, really scary board. You might want to, use your execute, but there's still just Cthulhu waiting in the wings.
Yeah, he can make the execute available by using his Fiery War Axe and try and set up a rag to hit the board, which would be relatively strong, even if Cthulhu is played, because it's likely to not get killed by Cthulhu, and it could also potentially take out one of these minions on the board. Say he takes out the Dark AKAWonder and maybe even hits the Bloodhoof Brave into the Claxy Amber Weaver to bring it down to 8 in order to have 2 good targets for Ragnaros. But that's a really risky play. You're not guaranteeing that you clear multiple minions off the board. You're only guaranteeing that you clear 1 minion off the board. And if you miss, it makes so much room for AKAWonder.
Looks like he's going for Frothing into Armorsmith into Ravaging Pool. This will make a gigantic Frothing, and I imagine at this point we're going to see the execute. And this is interesting because it is his second execute, but how big is that Frothing Berserker going to get? He actually... Yeah, he's going to go ahead and kill that, and then takes out the Twilight Elder.
All right, so Cthulhu is currently a 16-16. So he could trade in. I think that would be the best play to attack first.
Attack, hero power attack, or and then innervate Cthulhu.
Yes.
He can clear off the... He doesn't necessarily have to hero power an attack.
Yeah,
he can just attack in to ensure that there's only that damage on there. And then he could potentially use his hero power to finish something off. But it's 16 points of damage. Is he going to go ahead and play it first?
All right. There's a potential that Frothing Berserker could live.
If Frothing lives here, this could actually just be too big for Cthulhu to deal with.
All right, it would be 11 hits onto the board if everything is cleared except the Frothing Berserker, and it started at 8. So it would be a 19 damage Frothing Berserker. Okay, he clears it off.
Frothing is
Don't
gone.
have to worry about those possibilities.
All right, well...
This is the slowest Cthulhu I've ever seen in my entire life.
Now this ends up being kind of awkward because he didn't attack in first, so he is going to go ahead and innervate hero power here, and he can clear off one of these remaining minions, perhaps?
Yeah. And now Turna has no executes.
And there's a 16-16 in play.
Yeah.
He does, however, have Varian Ring, so this is still interesting. What's going to come off? The armies of Stormwind. They have arrived. Well, they will in a moment. I was trying to be all dramatic here, and then he's slow. Yeah. He's like, this is my only real play, but oh wait. Okay, here it comes. And the armies of Stormwind. Oh, Grom.
That's a really good one. And Cairn.
Oh, wow, that's about the best that Turna could have hoped for.
The thing is, he can't clear off.
No, he can't clear anything.
Anything. But if he can survive another turn, then he's in a good spot. So now we got to look at AKAWonder's side. He's got 20 damage. Turna has 27 health. We know that AKAWonder doesn't run like Savage Roar. He does have an Azure Drake. Azure Drake swipe would, still leave him a bit short if he were to get that. So he will have to probably start trading because of the amount of damage that Turna's going to be representing on the board. But Turna might have this with that Varian Rin.
Yeah, that Varian was absolutely huge. It got him 14 mana worth of minions on the board immediately. That's the kind of thing that you need to do to catch up to a Cthulhu.
Plus however much mana you consider Varian Rin by himself to be.
He's a 7/7 in addition to the 7/7 body. We got that's another 14. So
yeah.
All right, well, Black Knight not really useful here. No taunts on the other side of the board.
He's going to have to dig here. Picking up a spell would be big to try and deal with this Grom. Ooh.
Amber Weaver. That is not really what he wants here. He's not only facing down this huge board, but there's Ragnaros waiting on the other side of the board, the other hand.
And there's no clean way to clear anything. His best play at the moment is to trade the Cthulhu into Grom, which is sort of a good spot by Turna to make the trade, even though he's not clearing the Amber Weaver. He's still enraging his Grom, which is the big deal to try and set up as much damage on the board as possible.
Yeah, he's going to play that Amber Weaver. And then take out the Armor Smith. And it's also worth noting that thanks to the Armor Smith that Turna had in play that turn, he gained so much armor that he mitigated so much of the damage Cthulhu could do that he wasn't actually dead in the attack back.
Yeah. Whew. So
this is crazy.
There is a potential lethal
yep.
in this situation. He could Blood to Ichor the 4/1 Amber Weaver and then play Rag, and he'd have a 1-in-4 shot of killing his opponent with his minions going face.
Probably won't do that.
And he'd have other than that, he'd have a 2-in-4 shot of, so basically 50%, to kill a minion of consequence. But if he misses the Cthulhu and hits the Klaxi Amber Weaver, he's staring at 24 damage on the board, and he's at 29 health with the Astro Trick. So
yeah, probably not the best of spots.
Yeah.
But he can very likely just start value trading here. He got so much value from that Varian. He just clears off the Azure Drake. I have to imagine that Varian's going to go ahead and trade with Cthulhu. Is he not? He's just attacking face?
He's still safe. He knows.
That's true.
He knows that there's no way that AKAWonder can kill. Okay.
It's a 16-6.
Yeah, it's a 16-6. It's quite a big difference.
Yeah, he does trade here. So Ragnaros. That's the only 4-drop I can think of that can survive a Ragnaros hit without Divine Shield.
Yeah. And
that Black Knight not looking hot in AKAWonder's hand. And suddenly this game was looking so good for him. It's just been turned around. Beckoner of Evil gives Cthulhu +2, but Cthulhu is dead. He has no Doomcaller in this deck.
Yeah.
He will not be coming back.
Still, though, Beckoner of Evil gives +2/+2 wherever Cthulhu is.
Yep, it's true.
Including the graveyard.
So he's going to go ahead. And this is a terrible spot for AKAWonder. He's trying to fight through Ragnaros, the Cairn, and Turna still has cards in hand. He has Malkarak.
Yeah.
And is at 25 health. So this is really, this isn't lethal here by it could be. It could be. If Korkrot Elite and the Bane go face, we got a 1-in-4.
This is
probably not going to see that.
This is a little safer than the Cthulhu turn, but
oh, for a second I thought that was Curse Blade. I saw 2/3 and I thought that was going to be a Curse Blade.
I don't know if it even would have mattered at this point.
It might not.
He could clear off the board and put himself in a situation where there was probably a very slim likelihood that AKAWonder could find enough damage, even taking double.
Yeah, he can face tank this. If he wants, he can even Blood to Ichor the Black Knight, attack it with Bane, and then have 4 minions in play against just a 2/3, along with Ragnaros.
Yeah.
Yep, just gonna clear off and let Ragnaros choose who dies. Will it be Black Knight? Yep, Black Knight goes down. Now AKAWonder with absolutely nothing, just a Twilight Elder to his name. And whew, we're going to a Game 5.
And how fitting. I mean, this is probably one of the most epic series we've seen throughout the entire weekend. And,